there was so much work going into things, but we never had the time to tell the story.
The brand is the people, as you know, it's no different to the team.
So from that perspective, I think we couldn't have asked any more.
Welcome to the Video Marketing Podcast, hosted by the ARC Media Group. I'm Graham Allsop, and today I'm joined by Rob Palmer from the City of Birmingham Rockets. And today we're going to take a deep dive into how the City of Birmingham Rockets have used video in their marketing strategy. Welcome, Rob. So just kick us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, really, in your history and kind of when you started and where you are now.
Yeah, okay, Graham. So my history really was, I came on the back of being in banking for 12 years, which is a bit of a strange jump into the sporting arena. But I was really fortunate at school. We had a PE teacher that, in the days where you could open the gym up and he'd leave you alone and there were no health and safety concerns, and so you'd have football on the yard, you'd have volleyball in one hall, you'd have basketball in the gym and rugby on the field, and he'd just spin around all four activities after school, open up the gym in the morning for us. So kind of got into basketball in that way, and then a friend of mine took me down to a Saturday morning session over at it was the BAI at the time, which is the Birmingham Sports Centre. No, it's no longer there, at Highgate. Went through that school period of playing a little bit, and I loved all sports and played, to be fair, a number of sports as a kid. But there wasn't really much coming out of school for people of my age. From a basketball club point of view, it was all old men's clubs, as I thought at the time. So on the back of that, I was like, you know what, I need to set a club up myself. And I did it down at a local school. I got a bunch of young lads in there and we played. And that was my first experience really of probably organising and setting up a kind of a basketball club as such, and understanding the financials of it and how that all worked. And it was a very different time to now, but gave me kind of a really good footing really, I think, in just that organisational process. During that period, I just happened to be at a session one Saturday morning where I was playing. I'd only been maybe, I think 19, 20. And there was a coaching session coming up afterwards, which the coach didn't turn up at. And I happened to know one of the organisers. They said, "Oh, you just mind starting this session off?" And that was my road into coaching. On the back of that, really, it was a bunch of 11 or 12-year-olds. It was a scheme called Champion Coaching at the time. That there was a little bit of funding, I think, from the government that had gone into that. And I coached that team with the old Birmingham Bullets junior development program for maybe 3 seasons, and carried on with that over a period of time, really. So cut my teeth in the coaching environment, as a volunteer really for probably many, I say 8, 9, 10 years maybe. Just how I got kind of going in that respect, and really enjoyed it. Really didn't think of it as anything other than part of your life at the time. So we would train 2 or 3 times a week and we'd practice on a weekend. But it was probably just the enrichment of seeing the kids enjoy, improve and develop, and then on match days be successful, that kind of inspired you and motivated you to do a little bit more.
All the hard work you put into the training ground pays off, doesn't it?
I think so. My knowledge, I'll be honest with you, at that stage, looking back, my knowledge would have been pretty minimal from a coaching perspective, but of course at the time you think you know everything. But it was just the enjoyment and the reward, and the fact that you got committed kids that would travel from all parts of the city, usually on the bus on their own, in that era, to get to places and put that commitment in. That kind of in turn inspired me, really.
Yeah, fair enough. So obviously you mentioned you're in banking before. When was the transition, I suppose, really? Was it a slow transition? Did you just get to a stage where you're in the office and thought, you know what, let's just have a go at this full time? Or
yeah, do you know, I never really enjoyed the banking job. I jumped into it from school, really. Thinking I wanted to earn a little bit of money. My career's advice was, you're reasonably good at maths, so insurance or banking is your...
Sounds about right, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. It was so far from the truth, actually.
It's not how I ended up here, really.
So jumped into the banking environment from there. I did maybe, I say it was 88 that was. So I think I did 12 years on through to the millennium. And I was coaching part-time and voluntary and after work and on the weekends, and as I said, doing the group that I told you about. And then I'd gone. It was an interesting story. I'd gone on. I got a friend that through basketball that was doing some coaching with the men's team I was running. And I got another really close friend who'd just gone off to work on a cruise liner.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So he was a hairdresser, but had got the travel bug. We'd come away from we went to Mexico together, the three of us.
Yeah.
Came back, and the guy, Paul, who was the coach of our men's team at the time, was working over at North Birmingham College, over at Perry Bar. And he was telling me they were setting up a golf academy. I said, well, that's a little bit, it's going to be tricky to get golf going, I would have thought, in that, in that area. And certainly from a college perspective, when you've got no facilities there or anything. And he said, well, look, if we can't get it off the ground, I'll give you a call and we'll look at the basketball opportunity.
Yeah.
And sure enough,
Look for you, he failed, is it?
Well, lucky for me, yeah, absolutely lucky for me. So about 2 weeks later, he called. He said, right, if you can get 3 or 4 kids to come to the college with a basketball background, we'll set up the academy.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's what we did.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 8 hours of practice and some games every week.
Yeah.
I got an assistant coach's job at Birmingham University, which didn't pay me anything, but it was with Pete Mintoft, who's now working for us at Rockets and has done for several years. So kind of flipped from he was my boss in another world, which we'll talk about later, to us taking him on. But he gave me some work as an assistant there, again, just to probably understand and learn at the senior level of basketball how that operates a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the work kind of flowed from there. I was coaching in schools. I'd got one of the parents of a lad that I coached on voluntarily was a deputy headmaster at a school over in Bourneville at Dame Elizabeth. He offered me a few hours there. Went in there. That turned into 20 hours a week within a couple of years. So it kind of built up really nicely, and we built a really strong program there. So it was very bitty. It was, I think, something as a youngster you could get away with from having to coach at sometimes 7 a.m. through to 11 at night. But then having nothing in between at times. So it was a bit of a very flexible work pattern, shall we say.
Yeah.
But again, when you're young and you've got the energy and you're doing something you love, it never felt like work.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the story about the Rockets then? Because obviously you've mentioned a couple of other basketball teams and academies that you set up, but we're yet to kind of talk about the creation of the Rockets. So how did that come about?
So the Rockets were, the inception of the Rockets, which was originally City of Birmingham Basketball Club, came through a role that I'd got with the council. So during my freelance, self-employed coaching stint, shall we say, there was a scheme that came out, which is a sporting scheme, Active Sports, which was funded by Sport England, ran across a number of sports, and they were looking for a basketball coordinator that was housed by the city council, but then funded externally. I was fortunate enough to get the 20 hours a week of work that was going there when I applied for it. And Peter, who I mentioned, then ended up being my boss there. Really. Yeah. So I was at the council all told for in the region of 12 years. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
2001 till 13. And the funding was around provision of basketball around the city for young people. The Birmingham Bullets had just gone into liquidation, so their offer was no more. There wasn't a lot going on for young people, so it was really a case of find places for kids to play, put coaches there.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Neutral's Wellbeing Centre had just been constructed and put up via, again, some big lottery funding. So there was an element of their time that had to be basketball related.
Yeah.
So one of my roles was to fill that with peak time basketball. So what we did was we had a number of satellite centres around the city, and we pulled the best kids in to say, actually, you know what, come together, let's see what it looks like on a Saturday morning, because there was some real talent out there that just didn't have opportunity to play anywhere at all. So the Saturday mornings we kind of housed at the Wellbeing Centre, and really quickly the numbers just like phenomenal. So you suddenly got 60, 70 kids coming out there to play in a little internal league on a Saturday morning. We were still running stuff at satellite centres around the city. So I suppose the next step there was, well, these kids need to play externally as well. So we thought we'd hold a little bit of a tryout for the following season and see if we could put a team together. And again, about 130 kids turned up to these tryouts.
Yeah, it's great.
Year 7, 8 and 9. And that was the City of Birmingham Basketball Club was formed off the back of that, really. I think it was City of Birmingham Basketball Active Sports was under 14s was the first little group, which was, again, started with a small seed, and then year on year, as all these extra kids came in and the kids got older, we needed to put other teams on.
Yeah.
And before you know it, probably through 6-7 years later, and we've got 7 or 8 teams. There, and I'm still doing that while I'm working for the council, so I could operate a little bit of that through my job. But the growth there had just kind of probably exceeded expectations, if I'm being honest.
And it's all natural growth as well, isn't it? Natural growth is great because it shows that there's a need and a want for it. You're not forcing it. You haven't got necessarily a strategist underpinning everything. It's like, right, we're here now because people actually want to just come and play basketball.
That's right, and the demand was there. And I think as that period went on, I bought some really good people around me. So there was a couple of guys when I set the club up originally in the basketball community. Steve Ellis and Herman Wilson that helped me kind of start that off, and Steve managed to get us a small grant to kind of kickstart that, which was essential really to a financial point of view, because they hadn't really got a clue how to operate that stuff financially. And obviously when you're in a local authority, you always feel you've got a little bit of stability there, but there wasn't tons of money there that we could put into performance-led basketball. It was more about the community focus. So then I think 2006, Kurt Dawes, who's the current chair, Kurt came in, he brought his son to a tryout, Jordan. Jordan's still with our first team to this day. Jordan's an amazing guy. He's I'm sure we'll talk about him a little bit later, but I'm still heavily involved with the club. He's been there as a player, he's from a supporter really, in terms of helping us from a business angle. Now does a lot of work, but just recovering from injury this season. But he's played at all kinds of levels of the game. But he came in as a junior. I didn't pick him on his first tryout.
Did you not?
No,
that gave us fire.
Absolutely. But he showed the fire was in his belly, because I'd invited him back to a midweek session. We got a couple of spaces on the team at the time that we hadn't filled, and he was one of the guys I wanted to have another look at. And he kind of showed during those tryouts there that actually I really want this. So we put him on the team from there. I got to know Kirk a little bit. I'd known Kirk from playing the playing circuit. He was a police officer and we used to play against each other. But Kirk at that stage had set up a mediation company, a transformation and mediation company that dealt with some of the knife and gun crime in the city. And Kurt's company sponsored the club then, so we got all the teams got kits. And that really kind of helped to cement or brought Kirk in closer to the club, because I could see that he was really passionate and cared about what he was doing. I said to him, I need someone really to stand and chair now for us. And as always, he jumped into that with 2 feet really. So that was I think that was the point where we realised this could be a little bbit more than just a basketball club and a few people playing basketball, because it was having as you said, an organic growth, and probably the side product it was bringing without us even realising, because it was keeping kids in a really positive environment at a time where there was a lot of gun and knife crime and a lot of gang stuff going across the city, and those kids that could have been diverted into that activity were actually finding that basketball and the club were their release and their outlet, and keeping them away from that stuff. So we got a really positive set of relationships with parents and community people that recognised, that the club was having an impact far from what it does on the basketball court.
I suppose now you're very much trying to build the Rockets brand as the basketball, but then also keeping a very close eye on that community focus, giving back to the younger generation, making sure that they're safe, but ultimately having fun at the same time.
Absolutely, and the club the growth of the club since that period, since maybe 2010, has been immense. Really, we didn't look at senior teams until I think we toyed around that 2013.
Okay.
But it was very much an outlet for the juniors.
Yeah.
The junior levels went up to under 18s. Some kids would then go off to university. Some kids would go to work, and we never really thought or saw at that point I suppose where the first team would fit in. And there was a cost element to that. Again, it was very different to the junior game. But once we actually made that step into that environment, we had a group of under 19-year-olds. There was only 6 or 7 actually that played in the first year.
Yeah.
It was a really hard job in keeping that going. But they competed quite comfortably. And then I think we recognised actually there might be an opportunity here for the outlet, rather than feel, because the league structure says junior finishes at under 18 doesn't mean that 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds are not in need of support.
Yeah, they're not going to just stop playing basketball.
Absolutely. So that was kind of the initial reason for putting that team in place. And obviously that grew over a period of time. And if we fast forwarded to 2016, by that stage, I was working part-time on the club at that. So my time with the city council had finished. There was enough funds in the pot to say, actually, we can probably dedicate some money to I'd say professionalise this in some ways or formalise what we're doing. But obviously my time there, I had to ensure that what I was doing was working from a financial perspective, and I could generate more funds to take the organisation forward. So we'd set up as a community interest company at that stage. So the club was always a voluntary organisation. We turned it into a community interest company in 2012. There were 3 directors on there. And that just helped, I think that period of time there just helped us make that transition into getting better organisation, because the growth was pretty quick. I mean, I think we were up to 11 or 12 teams 2011 and 12. But one of the issues with that, at times it felt like there were 10 or 11 clubs within a club.
Nothing tying it together.
No, and some really, really good people doing what they were doing. But maybe we had no leadership at the top to say, actually, this is our way of doing stuff. And going back to what your original question there, really, we never wanted to lose focus of what the club actually started for, which was young people. And then as time went on, the additional things that it can do for young people. So, we got team managers that were contacting schools, ensuring that kids were up straight with their studies and online, and their attendance, their attainment was really good. That got really positive relationships with the schools. The next step then was schools saying to us, well, actually, if you've got a coach that could come in for an hour or 2 a week and deliver, which brought a different strand to the organisation, and obviously then a different business element as well. And that was part of the growth as well. But we wanted to make sure that we were doing that in as many places as possible within the club. And when you're working with volunteers, it's very hard to ask more and more of their time.
You can't ask too much, can you?
Absolutely not. So, being in my position there, I suppose, as a part-employed member of staff, I was able to at least spend some time contacting, developing relationships with schools or other organisations that had a vested interest in the young people, so we could work together. And of course, parents and families, to ensure that we were nurturing and I guess singing from the same hymn sheet with the young people when they came through our doors.
I suppose it's you've got to get the parents on side, haven't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And generally, I can honestly say in all my time of doing it, I can barely remember a kid that walked through the doors that wasn't happy to follow the discipline or follow the rules and the structure that the coaches in the club were asking of them. So I've had nothing but really positive experiences with kids from all across the city.
That's great. I mean, in terms of, obviously, it sounds like that it's happened over a long period of time. But again, appreciating that you've gone from a coach to pretty much the CEO now of running an organisation. How have you found the kind of marketing side of that? Obviously, going from setting it up to help kids ultimately get off the streets, but then also enjoy basketball and fall in love with it, to an organisation now where you've got, was it 10 teams?
Yeah, 12 teams. 12 teams,
and the senior team, which you know, he's got to start turning into a revenue generating business? How have you found that?
Challenging in one respect, certainly. I think one of the big issues that we always had, or weaknesses that we always had rather than an issue, I suppose, was that there was so much work going into things, but we never had the time to tell the story.
Yeah.
And that was probably, and when I decided to step back from, I enjoyed my coaching, I really did, but I felt I'd got to a point where I can have more impact, probably from coordinating, and running the business, rather than having my head in the business, every single day. So that transition, to start with, there were some things that were, from an administrational point of view and organisationally and developing relationships that I was really comfortable with. The marketing side of things was a little bit of a step into the dark, if I'm being really honest. So it really was hit and miss to start with. We just tried to tell a few more stories. We tried to get a little bit out on the involvement of social media during that period, to get out to our parents and our people. And I suppose it struck home to me that although everything was in my head, I knew what was going on. The people that I probably saw on a daily basis had got no idea of what the club was all about. And so that was a really important time in how do we get that message across, and how do we get it across consistently. And we were lucky enough in 2015 that we had a phone call out the blue one day from it was a volunteer coach whose wife was working on an immigration lawyer's office down on the Stratford Road, and the guy had walked in, said he was a football basketball player, was interested in basketball and an academy, I think in Birmingham was the phrase that he used. Anyway, his wife obviously took his name down and rang her husband, who rang me. And he sent me the name of the guy through. Now, the name Hakeem Olajuwon is an NBA legend. So when I saw the name, first of all, I thought, obviously, this can't really be him. And left it for
double ganger.
Yeah, you got a name and a number to ring him on. So he'd like to meet you and talk about basketball. We left it a couple of days, and then eventually kind of made contact with him, and sure enough, it was the man himself, and he'd arrived in Birmingham and in Solihull. His daughters were going to university, and he was looking for a kind of looking for basketball in the city and what it was about. So we met up with him, and he got out the car, and he got out the car again. He kept getting out the car. He was huge man, but a lovely, humble guy. And we told him about what was going on. And as we normally do with most people, it's, well, just come and have a look at what we're doing, because we can tell you about it. But, I think you need to come and see this, because the one thing with the club is that the diversity is real. The people that we've got are genuine people and have a love for the club. And our activities, I think are able to bring communities together in maybe ways that other in general life just doesn't happen across our city, unfortunately. So we brought him down anyway, and he saw how busy it was, and he said, "Oh, can I bring the boys?" He got 5 boys, never picked a basketball up.
Really? Yeah.
In their lives. So they started to join us and play a little bit, and then obviously from that perspective as well, how can I help you? And we spoke about a couple of things that we'd like to do in the future, which were an international camp, and maybe look at a kind of a post-16 academy. There were lots of them all around the country, but we hadn't managed to get one set up. And his words were, "Oh, well, we can do that." And in 2016, we set up the first Hakeem Olajuwon International Summer Camp. Had about 100 kids turn up to it. Had to get some huge publicity out of that from the national and local press, and international press for that matter. But I think it was at that point then the recognition was, actually, we've got a product here that we need to be probably bringing together, and that's where he was really good in helping us just think from a business perspective a little bit more. At the same time, so not too long after that, we were lucky enough to then get opportunity to take on, it was the government Kickstart scheme, and and we put a couple of, so it was a 6-month funded post. We didn't have any money at that stage.
Yeah.
They were 6-month funded posts to get people back into work.
Yeah.
And we had, I think we'd gone for an administrator, and we looked at some kind of media type role.
Yeah.
And I had a journalist lad walk through the door, who was working in football up at Macclesfield.
Yeah.
Been made unemployed up there, but wanted to obviously continue his sporting career. Interviewed him, and we took him on. And that was a little bit of a game changer for us in terms of actually bringing some consistent approach to our media strategy. Putting the name out there. We'd adopted the Rockets name at that stage, so we became City of Birmingham Rockets, because we never had. COB was always what everybody knew us in the basketball community as. Yeah. But I was very wary.
Rockets just sounds cooler as well.
Well, I suppose I have a slight I have a bias here.
Yeah.
One respect, because obviously we came as COB, and that was I have an affection for COB, but nobody outside of the basketball community in Birmingham would probably know who COB were. So it was important that we did kind of put some tagline to it, and Rockets does work, and we're over the moon. Yeah. No, but the Rockets link was obviously with Houston Rockets, where he played.
Yeah.
And we were able to use that. I think from a branding perspective, that gave us an angle then.
Yeah.
That we could really push on forward. And from that area, that was where obviously the profile from Hakeem being with us really enabled.
Helps elevate, doesn't it?
Elevating the profile of the club, was able to really rise from there, should we say, for want of a better word.
Yeah, brilliant. So obviously let's talk about our relationship, really, mate. So we've came on board and kind of partnered with you at the start of this summer, wasn't it? So the summer of 25. Just talk to us a little bit about how we work as a business, really, and how we've managed to help you in terms of the video marketing side.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so if I just rewind to around the COVID time, at that point we're still playing. Our first team are still playing in the 3rd division. It's quite low key. We tried to, I think people would pay £1 or £2 to come to a game. Yeah. But it was all very, we'd have maybe 50 chairs around the gym field to sit in and watch. Yeah. All very nice, but still quite, as I say, lower key. COVID was probably the best thing that happened to us as an organisation in one respect, because it did manage to take us all out of the running of things and say, actually, where do we want this club to go now? Where do we want this business to go? Yeah. As well as the club. And how do we do it? And there were lots of really good structural things that went on. We got by that stage we've got our management and organisational structure in place. Yeah. People had very defined roles, and we were still growing as well. So the plan was to not only to bring in more kids, but to give a better experience to the kids that we were with. But we had an email through from the gaming company 2K out the blue. They had a US foundation that would renovate and refurbish courts across the States. Yeah. And for the first time, I think they were looking to go globally with that. So the UK arm of the foundation contacted us and said, look, we've seen a little bit of the story online. We can see the link with Hakeem, an NBA star, ex-NBA, former NBA star, should I say, and what you're doing in Birmingham. We think there's a really nice, powerful story there. Would you be up for having your court renovated and refurbished if we could get the funding for it? Yeah. So the obvious answer to that was yes. It is a council facility, a local authority facility, so there had to be an element of acceptance from them as well, which is which again we kind of went through a process that enabled that to happen. And within about 3 weeks, there was a phone call to say, look, we've not got quite as much as we wanted, but I think there's 130k. Yeah. For a new floor, for bleacher seating, for high end baskets, and for scoreboards, international level scoreboards. So we went about refurbishing the court, really, in the long and short of it was, and we stained the show court across the existing 2-court basketball centre, which was game changing. The lighting was changed. The council supported us with that as well and gave us some extra funding to get new lights in. So we'd suddenly got a mini arena.
Yeah.
So when COVID was over and we could come back in, it was like, wow, this is game changing for us in what we're doing at the top level as well, because obviously the top end team is something that for us was aspirational by this stage for the young people, because we'd recognised across the years that actually these kids need something to look up to. We got a lot of our players that were reaching 16, 17, 18, having to leave the city to continue the elite pathway. So we wanted to ensure that we'd still got it here for them. So our plan, I think at the end of COVID, we were granted promotion to the second division. Because of where we'd finished in that league. And we got a 5-year plan for the men and the women to try and reach the Division 1. But we came out of COVID and we reached that. I think it was 2 seasons we did that in, which was amazing. But at the same time, probably a little bit too quick for the business growth. So from that element, the men were in the first division, the women were in the first division. Again, we recognised the men were becoming a commercial element, because the market in that division certainly saw players getting paid, and you've got to compete in that league to stay in there. So that's been a different challenge, and I think we've done this is the third season in the first division now. So we were lucky enough to get introduced to yourselves across the summer, I think, by Paul. And I suppose the quality, first of all, the quality of the content that has been provided is enabling us now to reach that wider audience. It's really more than ever now, the social media content, or across the whole of socials, the content that's being put in out there is absolutely vital to what we're doing. Now you can do so much on an iPhone, you can do so much with nice photography, but actually getting that mix of really high quality content is helping us now reach that wider audience. And the one big thing for us is, from a revenue point of view, we look at sponsorship, we look at gates on match nights, and we look at secondary spend. So more people through the doors, and then more partners and sponsors that work with us that are going to help us elevate, really. And I think from an ARC's perspective, that's one of the huge issues for us, that we're able to hit a lot of those areas. We're showing people, I guess, what the event night looks like. We're able to get stuff behind the scenes and engage with the fan base and reach a wider fan base. But obviously also we're able to show partners and potential new sponsors just what it could look like, or be like how their business can benefit by being involved with us at Rockets.
I suppose it's very much the brand perception piece as well, isn't it? As the brand's slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger over the years, you've got to keep the hours perception the same, or if not even bigger, because if the club wants to continue to grow, you just need to make sure that you're constantly ahead of the curve on how you look externally.
Absolutely, the quality of the production is crucial. The brand, really, behind the brand is the people. And I've kind of been really selective over the years. The people that we work with or work for us, I think we have to be sure that share the passion for the club as well, because ultimately we want that represented when things are going out. And I think our relationship has been so that your guys have gone the extra mile to ensure that we've got the right footage at the start of the year. Our game nights are sold and look really professional in what's going on, and exactly as you say, really, it's kind of trying to stay ahead of the curve. We've tried to make sure there are league standards that we have to adhere to, but and quite a few actually around the social and the media content that needs to be put out. We try to make sure we go way above and beyond in terms of that. To be a leading light.
You want to be the best in the league, don't you, from that side?
Absolutely, So I always say to Kirk and the staff, this isn't about us adhering to the league standards. This is about us adhering to the standards that we set for ourselves. And from an ambition point of view, obviously, we want to be selling that sports all out every Saturday night. We want to be giving the best experience to the people that come through the doors. We want to be showing how, for our own kids, the levels and the standards they can get to. So it's aspirational, but the visuals on that are so important. It's untrue. And I think one of the great things that we've evolved with yourselves this year is just trying to get a little bit more behind the scenes as well. Tap into the players and what they are, outside of basketball as well. Because I think that from a fan experience and a fan engagement point of view.
But that's what they love. It's like you said it a minute ago. It's like the brand is the people. As you know, it's no different to the team. So to get more bums on seats, to get people in the arena, to build up more buzz, people need to start buying into the players, find out who they are. I'm big into football. It's like, I've got my favourite football players, and I'm more likely to go and watch a game because of them. Like even when I was a kid, I used to go and do it really, very much so. In terms of the process, Rob, how have you found working with us?
Well, very easy. You guys have been obviously proactive. We've been engaging. We've had our players, we've had our staff that have come into the studios here, and you've done some work. You've come out to us as well. So from that perspective, I think we couldn't have asked any more.
Yeah.
In honesty, Graham, it's every time we've asked for something, you've given it us.
Yeah.
And I hope I hope from your perspective, our guys have been easy to work with as well. But the turnaround on stuff has been quick. The quality of what we've got has been great. So I couldn't speak highly enough really about. We're really lucky to have found you. I think through Paul, and then we didn't really, we weren't sure when we first met, probably in which direction we could take it.
Yeah.
But I think the ideas that you guys come up with straight from the outset have been obviously amazing for us, and even the additional stuff I think in the supporting strategies, we talked about earlier today, are going to be nothing but really, really, really important for us as we move forward.
Yeah, perfect. And then probably one final one for me, Rob. But what's the future for the Rockets? I suppose where's the vision?
Where's the vision? It's the $1 million question, isn't it? There's a few imminent things that we're looking at that we feel could be game changers. One is really ownership or management of our own facility. So I touched upon that with the sports centre at Neatshaws. We are currently in talks with the city about how that might look in either an asset transfer type process or some other form. So that in itself would be incredible for us, although we know it will bring its own challenges as well, because running and delivering our own sports centre and having responsibility for that is very different from hiring it. But we spend so much on hire fees and are obviously limited around opening hours and what time is available. So there's some things around that we think that could be really exciting for us. The other area really, as I touched upon previously, is from the growth perspective, is demonstrating that we're going to be too big for that centre.
Yeah.
We can currently get around 500 people on a match night. So we know we need to be comfortably selling that out week on week. Interestingly, the first year we had the centre, I think, was the year that, the second season we got promoted from the second division.
Yeah.
Every game was a sellout, but we were winning every game.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting one for me, because I wasn't 100% sure, would the winning and losing make a difference to our fan base? It definitely does. But having a competitive team on the floor and a bunch of guys that we've got this year are outstanding.
Yeah.
In terms of how they carry themselves and represent the club and the resilience that they've got. And they represent the club values, to the umpteenth degree, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's really helping at the moment in bringing new fans in, getting existing fans to be showing up. So we're averaging somewhere between 300 and 400 at the moment.
Yeah.
So we know there's a little bit more work to ensure that we're getting that 500 mark every week.
Yeah.
And I think at that point then, obviously we're keeping a close eye on things that are happening across the city, where maybe what would our next step be? So, either if we were able to do anything at Neatshaws ourselves to increase the capacity, or what other facilities might be around that potentially in the future could house us if we grew effectively.
Yeah.
But every year it's a step on step of becoming a bit more professional on the commercial end.
Yeah.
But also keeping a real close eye to make sure we never forget where we came from.
Yeah.
With the community element, and the schools and community staff and the team do a great job in ensuring that thousands of kids every week still see and understand what the Rockets are all about.
Yeah.
Because that's our future still.
Yeah. Lovely. In terms of just trying to encourage people to come to a Rockies game. I mean, I went to my first one a few weeks ago. Honestly, Rob, it's fantastic. Like the environment, just the pace of the game, it's amazing. What would you say to anyone watching this that hasn't necessarily been to a basketball game before, but you can convince them to come to a Rockets game?
Well, I mean, first of all, come and give it a go. You've got extreme athletes, talented athletes, body control, as you said, fast-paced game. There's excitement within that game every few seconds. The music, the DJ, the MC, the stuff that goes around it, the noise around the fan base, the to-in and fro-in and the momentum swings of the games, the highs and the lows. I mean, we've got a couple of new supporters, one of whom is a part sponsor now, who messaged me about 2 a.m. after his first game to say, just to say that, you know, my heart's still beating now. Kind of like I'm still crazed about when's the next one. I want to come to the away games. So they are a really exciting event.
Yeah.
You don't need to know a great deal about the sport to go and watch it. You can soon pick that up and learn. And our commentator on the night will always tell you a little bit about that. But as an event, I think you'd be surprised if you came through the doors and just saw the talent. You know that, and the majority of the guys are guys from our city. The talent that's on display there. We you know, I still believe, and we still believe, that we're a little hidden gem in the city, and we've got to try and. I want to get past that.
Yeah, we can cover that. Yeah,
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now, you know, the more eyes we can get it on it, the better. We're doing all we can to try and take that product to a wider audience.
Yeah, perfect, lovely, brilliant. Thank you very much, Rob.